Right. Exciting. Things are heating up. We have a God of surprises, and today's gospel, Jesus uses his friend Lazarus and his death to surprise us once again. Now, did you catch? It says there, when Martha and Mary sent word to Jesus that their brother Lazarus was sick, Jesus purposely stayed away until Lazarus had actually died. I mean, here's Martha and Mary, close friends of Jesus, calling out to him to come and heal Lazarus. But what did Jesus do? He chose to stay away. And he decides to wait so as to arrive 4 days after Lazarus had passed. And we'll come back to the reason why, but let's set up some context here to this trip that Jesus was thinking of making, because his friends were in Bethany, which is 2 miles away, a few miles away from Jerusalem. But this was a dangerous trip to do at this point, right? Things are heating up between Jesus and the religious leaders in Jerusalem. Bethany is in the south region of Judea, right? Jerusalem and Bethany, all that is in that southern part called Judea. And then there's Samaria, and then what's above Samaria? That's where Jesus is from. Where is he from? Galilee, right? So the Jerusalem folks kind of see the Galileans as hillbillies, right? And if you notice, like in a lot of like Jesus, like for example, The Chosen, the people in Jerusalem have a different accent from the people in Galilee. Like you notice in The Chosen and in other depictions, you'll notice the Galileans have this unique accent, and then they'll often use a British accent for the Jerusalem big city folks, right? So they kind of see the Galileans as hillbillies, right? Because so you're talking about a 100-mile hike from Capernaum, which is the headquarters of where Peter's from, to Bethany, close to Jerusalem. So some of the disciples hesitated about going down there, even with Lazarus dying. He says, hey, it's kind of dangerous. I mean, they were just trying to stone you, Jesus, and you want to go back down there? And it's also good to note that whenever John refers to the Jews, yes, everybody's Jews, even the Galileans as we know it, but our patron Saint John, when he calls the Jews are trying to kill you, what's the region that Jerusalem is in again? Judea. So the people from that region were a more specific use of the word Jews are folks who come from Judea. And so the disciples are saying, the Jews are trying to kill you. Those big city folks down there, right, are trying to kill you. And so Thomas, we all know him as to be the doubting Thomas, as we'll hear shortly in Holy Week. But he's also the courageous Thomas, because he said there, he boldly says, no, let's do it, right? That's what he means by let us also go to die with him. Because Thomas thinks it's a death wish to go down there. And Thomas is like, all right, I'm ready. Let's go to die with him. So the disciples went into the danger zone, AKA Kenny Loggins, for those out there. Remember that things are heating up. This is close to when that first Holy Week would occur, which is part of why the church has us read this gospel in the 5th Sunday of Lent. So Jesus is determined, because all of this is part of the divine plan, right? And so let's go back to the reason why Jesus decided to wait for a couple of days. He wanted to use Lazarus as a sign. And so another reason, though, is now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that he was ill, he remained for 2 days in the place where he was. So he's letting Lazarus die because he loves Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. It's something that, that's to us, it's kind of backward, right? But remember, God's ways are not our ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. There's a greater plan to what appears to us as backward. So let's see what John said then. So then Jesus said to them clearly, Lazarus has died, and I am glad for you that I was not there, that you may believe. Let us go to him now. All right? So there is, what's more precious than saving a life temporarily? Having a faith, having a belief in Jesus that opens the way to eternal life, right? So the purpose of Lazarus' dying and rising is that that his friends and those around him would believe. And it would also be this living prophecy, a living sign of what Jesus was going to do with his own body that the authorities would put to death. And Martha and Mary, seeing what Jesus could do with their brother Lazarus, would increase their faith and clarify this imperfect notion that a lot of the Jews had of the Messiah back then, right? The Messiah was sent by God the Father, didn't come to just be a political liberator, from the Romans. But Jesus was there to take even greater oppressors of humanity, the cosmic powers of sin and death that divide and enslave humanity and destroy lives, right? The death, one of the greatest fears that we have is the fear of death and disease. And Jesus is saying, I'm more powerful than any of that. I am the resurrection and the life, right? So this is much more than about a Messiah that's a political liberator. So, because we're all going to die at some point, right? No matter how healthy you keep yourself, no matter how rich you may be, no matter how smart you may be, ain't nothing going to keep you from dying. The question is whether or not that suffering will be used to break us and to despair, or we allow God to use it as a witness to others of our hope of eternal life to come, right? And that's the sign that Lazarus was, so that people may know where to go, and that people might believe in Jesus, in who is the resurrection and the life. So this is God's mysterious ways at work, and he wants to use our life to witness to that, so that others may believe. But are we sensitive to it? This is why prayer life is so important, right? It's so essential for us. It's in that relationship with Jesus that he illumines for us his purpose and his plans behind his often strange and mysterious ways. How many junctures in this story did we think, that's strange, that's not how I would have done it, that's not what I would have thought Jesus was going to do, right? And so Jesus says, in the world you will have troubles, but take courage, I have conquered the world. And like Lazarus, may your own life then be a very sign of that truth, that he has conquered the world, and he does so in his own mysterious ways, not in the ways of the world, which lead to, look at the war in Ukraine, right? We're praying, we want to pray in a special way for that this week, in union with the church. You might be wondering why we have this screen down. And I'm having a shortened homily because I want to report to you beautiful imagery from Uganda. Because remember, our parish mission last year was for all those water tanks for villages in Uganda, specifically for communities where there's Catholic schools. And so, you would think that the government provides these basic essentials, but with corruption and lack of grease money in corrupted countries, you don't often see action. We take for granted a lot of the stuff that we have here. Just having water come out of your spout is such a blessing for them. When's the last time that you were like singing and dancing because you have water, right? So that is what we help provide through our mission appeal this past year. And Miss Naomi is head of Children Waiting Everywhere, and she made a little video for us to show. Can you put that up there, Ian? What, we can't get the image? Okay, yes. So this is not the one. This is the, we want the St. John one. Well, we'll see. There it is. Can you put up the volume?
For water. Now today God has blessed them through friends.
So
Provide them with water.
they have really beautiful voices.
The waiting is over.
And it's all that, you know, the very African sounding. They're thanking us. They're saying it's a song about waiting for the water, and the water is coming, and then the water has come, and then they're thanking us for the water.
Thank you, God.
So, are you able to fix it? Okay. Well, that's the other village, so you can see the water tank in the background.
950 students.
And it sounds like Lion King stuff.
The
So you'll just have to use your imagination. I could hear it on my computer. I don't know why it's not coming through. And then you'll see some images here. Maybe we can try to fix this for the 12 noon.
Here are the children washing their hands.
If you can't figure it out. So there's the water that's being provided from the tank, connected to the tank, and the school children. So these projects were made possible through the generosity of St. John the Evangelist Parish. So that we were able to, originally it was 3 tanks, but they were able to stretch the dollars, and 4 tanks in 4 villages were provided. So thank you to all that participated in that. It's very fitting for a Lenten theme because, you know, part of Lent is almsgiving. And so that was a fruit of your almsgiving. So thank you. Yeah.